All right, let's do Acts 22. First, let's give praise to the Most High Elohim, who is the rock and the deliverer and the Savior. And there is none greater than Yahweh. And when He searches your heart for the truth, He finds it. There is no hiding it from Him. He is awesome, and He is wonderful, and He is glorious. And I am rejoicing that I am counted worthy to bow before Him. Man, praise you, Yahweh. All men praise you. Speak the words that I need to speak through me. Let your spirit guide me. In Yeshua's name, amen. Okay. Acts 22 of the Apostles. Men, brothers, and fathers, hear my defense before you now. And when they heard, he spoke to them in the Hebrew language. They kept greater silence, and he said, I am indeed a Yehudi, having been born in Tarsus of Cilicia, but brought up in this city at the feet of Gamaliel, having been instructed according to the exactness of the Torah of our fathers, being ardent for Elohim as you all are today, who persecuted this way to the death, binding and delivering up into prisons both men and women, as also the high priest bears me witness, and all the eldership, from whom I also received letters to the brothers, and went to Damascus to bring in chains even those who were there to Jerusalem to be punished. And it came to be, as I was journeying and coming near Damascus about noon, suddenly a great light shone around me out of the heaven. And I fell to the ground and heard a voice saying to me, Shaul, Shaul, why do you persecute me? And I answered, Who are you, Master? And he said to me, I am Yeshua of Nazareth, whom you persecute. And those who were with me indeed saw the light, and were afraid, but they did not hear his voice speaking to me. And I said, What shall I do, Master? And the Master said to me, Rise up. Go into Damascus, and there you shall be told all that you have been appointed to do. And as I could not see because of the esteem of that light, being led by the hand of those who were with me, I came into Damascus. And a certain Hananiah, dedicated man, according to the Torah, being well spoken of by all the Yehudim dwelling there, came to me and stood by and said to me, Brother Shaul, look up. And at that same hour I looked up at him. And he said, The Elohim of our fathers has appointed you to know his desire, and to see the righteous one, and to hear the voice from his mouth, because you shall be witness to all men of what you have seen and heard. And now, why do you delay? Rise up, be immersed, and wash away your sins, calling on the name of Yahweh. And it came to be, when I returned to Jerusalem, and while I was praying in the set-apart place, I came to be in a trance. And I saw him saying to me, Hurry, and get out of Jerusalem speedily, because they shall not accept your witness concerning me. And I said, Master, they know that in every congregation I was imprisoning and beating those who believe on you. And when the blood of your witness Stephanos was shed, I also was standing by, giving my approval to his death, and keeping the garments of those who were killing him. And he said to me, Go, because I shall send you far from here to the nations. And they were listening to him until this word, and then they lifted up their voice, saying, Away with such a one from the earth, for it is not fit that he should live. As they were shouting and tearing their garments and throwing dust in the air, the commander ordered him to be brought into the barracks, and said that he should be examined by flogging, in order to find out why they were shouting so against him. And as they were stretching him out with straps, Shaul said to the captain who was standing by, Is it permitted for you to whip a man who is a Roman and uncondemned? And when the captain heard, he went and reported to the commander, saying, Watch what you are about to do, for this man is a Roman. And having come, the commander said to him, Say to me, are you a Roman? And he said, Yes. And the commander answered, With a large sum I obtained this citizenship. And Shaul said, But I was even born so. Then at once those who were about to examine him withdrew from him. And the commander was also afraid after he found out that he was a Roman, and because he had bound him. And on the next day, intending to know for certain why he was accused by the Yehudim, he released him and commanded the chief priests and all their council to come, and brought Shaul down and set him before them. Okay, so this is in Jerusalem, and Shaul is a Roman. I was assuming that Jerusalem was under Roman rule. And so I'm trying to find Tarsus on this map. Okay, Tarsus is in Cilicia, which is north of Syria. I don't know where this would be present day. If we look at Jerusalem, I'm thinking Iraq, Afghanistan. Let's pull up the very Tarsus is in Turkey. Tarsus would be in Turkey. Okay. So Tarsus is in Turkey. He was born in Rome, he says. He was born a Roman, so maybe Turkey's been under Roman control, but he's a Yehudi. And thinking that Antioch's in Syria. Obviously, all this starts in Jerusalem. Where are they all? It's Damascus. Was brought up in this city at the feet of Gamaliel. He was brought up in Jerusalem. Yeah. Okay. So if we look at Acts chapter 6, verse 7, and the word of Elohim spread, and the number of the taught ones increased greatly in Jerusalem, and a great many of the priests were obedient to the belief. And Stephanos, filled with belief and power, did great wonders and signs among the people. But some of those of the so-called congregation of the freedmen, Syrians, Alexandrians, and those from Cilicia and Asia, rose up, disputing with Stephanos. But they were unable to resist the wisdom and the spirit by which he spoke. Then they instigated men to say, We have heard him speak blasphemous words against Moshe and Elohim. And they stirred up the people and the elders and the scribes. So they came upon him and seized him and brought him to the council. And they set up false witnesses who said, This man does not cease to speak blasphemous words against this set-apart place in the Torah. For we have heard him saying that his Yeshua of Nazareth shall overthrow this place and change the institutes which Moshe delivered unto us. And all who sat in the council, looking steadily at him, saw his face was like the face of a heavenly messenger. So they can recognize, they see that he looks like a messenger. He looks like an angel at this point, Stephanos. We just read in Acts 22 that Shaul admits he was at Stephanos and crying Acts 7:57, and crying out with a loud voice, they stopped their ears and rushed upon him with one mind, and threw him out of the city and stoned him. And the witnesses laid down their garments at the feet of a young man named Shaul. And they were stoning Stephanos as he was calling and saying, Master Yeshua, receive my spirit. And kneeling down, he cried out with a loud voice, Master, do not hold this sin against them. And having said this, he fell asleep. Now, okay, so Shaul is from Turkey, Cilicia, Tarsus, which is where some of these men are from. And he is in Jerusalem. He's a Jew from Tarsus, born under Roman rule, and a Roman citizen. Now, there's some serious Shaul wordiness here as far as okay, so he was born a Roman, Shaul. The commander says, with a large sum I obtained this citizenship, and Shaul says, but I was even born so. So I don't understand. I don't know. I don't understand the exact way that the Romans were ruling at this time. We know that Pontius Pilate, who impaled Yeshua, was a Roman. And so if they're doing the killings, the executions in Jerusalem at this time, then it's likely that they have complete authority. I don't know if this, Greece is still on this map and all of these other places, so I'm not sure when how exactly the Romans rule, what the territories are. Israel during the time of Jesus. So yeah, Rome rules from 63 BC to 70 AD. They destroy Jerusalem. So they put up with this for a while. Now, he's got okay. So yeah. So the Romans rule. A young man named Shaul. We don't know exactly how old he is, but if he's a young man, I'm probably guessing he's in his 20s. So I'm also gonna guess that he does not know. He's not fully. I mean, Jesus was not in Cilicia. He was not in Turkey. They go to Antioch, traveling all over the Roman Empire. And so what we're looking at here is how Shaul was born a Roman, and he's from Turkey. I'm going to assume that the Romans, that as you were born in Turkey at the time that Rome ruled it, that you were a Roman citizen. However, the reach of Rome extended just to Jerusalem, essentially. I'll put this map up as the video thumbnail. The role of Rome extended just to Jerusalem. So if this guy came from just southeast of Jerusalem, he would have had to buy his citizenship from Rome. So is it possible that there is Arabia? Is it possible that he's Arabian? Yeah. I mean, even Damascus and Phoenicia are like the cutoffs of Roman rule. So Shaul's like just kind of fondling the border of this whole thing in his travels. We left off in Acts 21 with, we'll go to 36. For a large number of the people followed after, crying out. He's basically being seized in Jerusalem, and they start beating him. Somebody goes and gets a commander. Commanders bring soldiers. They're like, hey, what's going on here? Why is this man causing so much trouble? They figure out they don't know that he's not causing trouble, but they're like, why are 1,000 people trying to kill one man? And so they're like, let's get him out of here. Verse 36, for a large number of the people followed after, crying out, away with him. Go to 35. And when he came to the stairs, he had to be carried by the soldiers because of the violence of the crowd. For a large number of the people followed after, crying out, away with him. And as Shaul was about to be led into the barracks, he said to the commander, am I allowed to say somewhat to you? And he said, do you know Greek? Are you not the Mitzrite who some time ago stirred up a revolt and led the 4,000 assassins out into the wilderness? But Shaul replied, I am a Yehudi from Tarsus in Cilicia, a citizen of no mean city. And I beg you, allow me to speak to the people. And having given him permission, Shaul, standing on the stairs, motioned with his hand to the people, and when there was a great silence, he spoke in the Hebrew language, saying, okay, so I think this no mean city means that, like, he's a Pharisee, and so the Pharisees were basically the aristocrats of the time, the very wealthy individuals, the J.P. Morgans, the Donald Trumps, the Bill Gates, the legacy wealth, right? And so Turkey is, if you've ever seen pictures of Turkey, very nice, very large, very lush palaces. Obviously wealthy, and he himself is describing his wealth. He's like, I'm not some assassin, some murderer, some would-be criminal. I am a very wealthy man. I have a standing where I'm from. And when there was a great silence, he spoke in the Hebrew language, saying, men, brothers, and fathers, hear my defense before you now. Commands the crowd. Just like that. He has... He starts making his defense. Men, brothers, and fathers. Talking to all men. And institutes his relation with them. That he is under their authority, and he has natural love exchange with them. And when they heard that he spoke to them in Hebrew language, they kept greater silence. And he said, I don't know what language he's talking about, because this guy asked him if he knows Greek. But Shaul knows Roman, whatever language they spoke, Latin, Italian. I'm going to go with Latin. He knows Latin. He knows Greek. He knows Hebrew. And they don't even realize that he's a Jew. And I'm wondering where his tzitzit are. You know what I mean? Like, of all the shit. It's like, bro, you're supposed to have your tzitzit on. What are you doing? That's why you're getting stoned everywhere you go. They don't even fucking know you're a Jew. No, he probably has tzitzit on. I don't know if they just... Maybe they ripped him off in the mob. Okay. But they start paying attention when he starts speaking in Hebrew. He knows that he's going to Jerusalem to be killed. He's been warned several times, and they're about to have the festival of Shabbat, and so he knows that people are coming there, and he knows the witness that he can make, and there's, I think it says thousands. The entire city was moved, and the people rushed together, seized Shaul, and dragged him into the set-apart place. If you've ever seen like a picture of the Wailing Wall, you look that up in Jerusalem, man, people pilgrimage. Like, there's 1 million people hobbling all over Jerusalem every day. And I can just see this being the case with Shaul. Okay. Okay. I am indeed a Yehudi, having been born in Tarsus of Cilicia, but brought up in this city at the feet of Gamaliel, having been instructed according to the exactness of the Torah of our fathers, being ardent for Elohim as you all are today, who persecuted this way to the death, binding and delivering up into prisons both men and women, as also the high priest bears me witness, and all the eldership, from whom I also received letters to the brothers, and went to Damascus to bring in chains even those who were there to Jerusalem to be punished. Okay, so what he's saying here, he's from Turkey. He was, okay, so having been born in Tarsus of Cilicia. Okay, so he was born a Roman citizen in Tarsus. So he clearly was born in Turkey under Roman rule, where they gave him Roman citizenship, which makes sense because they're like, hey, these are our boundaries, this is our empire, this is our people, we don't F around, you're not going to come in and take our people, whatever, just like you're an American citizen, and then you can get back into America pretty well at any time. You know, I was just in Canada, and you go up and they harass the shit out of you at the border, and then you come back and America's like, roll down your window, and they're like, have a good day. So a lot of that having to do with American citizenship, right? Like, they see, you know, like, I got New York plates, I got a U.S. passport, I talk like a fucking New Yorker. Came through in Vermont, but that little, she was cute too. Cute little immigration agent. But that little cute immigration agent was like, not asking any questions. She just let me in. Because that was her job. Because I'm an American citizen. And so even if I went up and started riots in Canada, America was going to let me back in and then, you know, prosecute me and then extradite me to Canada if that needed to be done. So this same kind of thing is going on here, that they will, if there's outside governing powers who need to, persecute you in, like we said, Arabia, they would take care of that in Arabia and work with the Roman government to get this stuff done. But he's a Roman citizen, born in Tarsus of Cilicia, brought up in this city, which is Jerusalem, at the feet of Gamaliel, who we saw makes one appearance in Acts chapter 5, but Acts chapter 5:34, one of the wisest men in the Bible, if you ask me. But he is saying here he was trained by this man at the feet of Gamaliel. So I told a guy once, I said, if you really want to be a follower of Jesus, you should be at the feet of Ernie, Pastor Ernie. You should, this is your pastor, you trust him. You say that he's the realest man of God that you know, and if you really want to be a real man of God, and you have access to a real man of God, and you're not at his feet, I've used this expression before. But a certain one in the council stood up, a Pharisee named Gamaliel, a teacher of the Torah, respected by all the people, and ordered them to put the emissaries outside for a little while, and said to them, Men of Israel, take heed to yourselves what you intend to do to these men. For before these days, Toda rose up claiming to be somebody. A number of men, about 400, did join him. He was slain, and all who obeyed him were dispersed and came to naught. After him, Yehuda of Galil rose up in the days of the census and drew away many people after him. He also perished, and all who obeyed him were scattered. And now I say to you, stay away from these men and leave them alone, because if this plan or this work is of men, it shall be overthrown. But if it is of Elohim, you are unable to overthrow it, lest you even be found to fight against Elohim. And they heeded his advice, and having called for the emissaries, beating them, they commanded that they should not speak in the name of Yeshua, and let them go. Then indeed they went rejoicing from the presence of the council, because they were counted worthy to suffer shame for his name. And daily in the set-apart place and in every house they did not cease teaching and bringing the good news, Yeshua the Messiah. Okay. So we've got a situation here where Gamaliel is basically telling the men of, I think that they're still in Jerusalem. They're definitely still in Jerusalem. They haven't left Jerusalem yet. All of this, basically the missionary tours, as they're called in the New World Translation, haven't started yet. And so they're in Jerusalem. There's a Pharisee named Gamaliel. This man says he's the one to speak up and say, hey, we could kill these guys, but if this prophet's a fake prophet, then just let him go, and nobody's going to listen to him. And if this is from God, do we really want to be on the opposite side of God? And why this is so amazing to me is that the wisdom and compassion of Gamaliel instituted into Paul. Paul was doing his job. He thought that he was going to be a great Pharisee. Probably saw the politics in it. He speaks many languages. He's probably a good-looking kid, He's holding the coats of the people who are stoning Stephanos. And so, I guess my point here is that it's one thing to be a badass, and it's one thing to be a wise and intelligent person. It's a whole nother ballpark to be both. And that's what Shaul is. He's a badass. He is an executioner. He's wealthy, young man, like I said, probably good looking. And he is stewarded by a very wise and compassionate, clean-hearted, love for Elohim man who says, don't do this to these men unless we know they've committed a crime. he gets the emissaries released from prison and from stoning, and he just says, look, don't do it. And so Shaul has that upbringing. He was taught, having been brought up in this city at the feet of Gamliel. And wisely said Shaul that at the feet of Gamliel, that he respects his teacher like that. He's not like, yeah, some fucking asshole Gamliel taught me. No, at the feet of Gamliel. Okay? We'll go back to Acts chapter 7 in a minute. Okay. Having been instructed according to the exactness of the Torah of our fathers, being ardent for Elohim as you all are today. They do. They actually think, very likely, very probably, that they're doing for Elohim. They are not understanding the Torah. They don't have eyes to see and ears to hear. And that's why in the impalement of Jesus, the people are there and they're like, let his blood be on our hands. And then they realize that they messed up after. Immediately. They're like, oh, this was the son of Elohim. A lot of commotion, a lot of confusion, a lot of, herd mentality, a lot of lack of understanding. You know what I mean? Like, even just take take an iPhone, Somebody says you're using your iPhone wrong. You're actually supposed to, hold it upside down when you make phone calls, like the speaker's on the other side. And you're like, what? I didn't know that. But it's true. Like, the speaker is on the other side. The point of the Torah is not to keep the commands. The point of the Torah is to have the heart condition for your brothers. The commands are regularity, weekly checkups, weekly Sabbaths, quarterly checkups, I scratched my neighbor's car. I backed into my neighbor's car. What do? Well, tell him. My dog bit somebody. What do? Put him down. My wife's cheating on me. Kill her. No, don't do that. But that's what the Torah says, is that's the rule. So all of these rules that we have in the Torah are for good reason. When you poop, go outside the camp and dig a hole. Do not uncover the nakedness of your father by laying with his wife. This is for our protection, but it's also for our prosperity. And he's been instructed to the exactness of the Torah of our fathers, being ardent for Elohim as you all are today. This term exactness is used elsewhere also. I want to say it's in Acts also. Thought it was recently. Thought there was another point where he'd said the exactness of the Torah. 21. or 15. So, but the point being is that the fullness of understanding per the word, right? Like the textual understanding of the Torah. Now, did Shaul have his own copy? Probably not, but he was definitely a student and had been instructed. And, you know, people tell me, oh, you can get the whole Bible down and you can understand the whole Bible in 9 months. And it's like, sure. Yeah. If you don't eat, sleep, or breathe in the meantime, maybe. And then you're just born again at the end of that 9 months, right? That's how it is. That's the formula. And I think there's a little bit of MCing here. Being ardent for Elohim as you all are today. Who persecuted this way to the death, binding and delivering up into prisons both men and women. Yeah, that was his job. And Shaul was giving approval to his death. Acts 8. And on that day, there was a great persecution against the assembly which was at Jerusalem, and they were all scattered throughout the countries of Yehuda and Shomeron except the emissaries. And dedicated men buried Stephanos and made great lamentations over him. But Shaul was ravaging the assembly, entering houses and dragging off men and women, putting them in prison. Then those having been scattered went everywhere bringing the good news, the word. So, this is the bomb that goes off that scatters everybody. Shaul delivering up men and women. He's persecuting this way in capital letters. We know from John 14:6, Yeshua says, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. We find out later more about the way, but it's basically, this is what they termed themselves as followers of Messiah. In Acts 11, it was there that they're first called Messianists. That word Christians in most translations. And it came to be for an entire year they came together in the assembly and taught large numbers. And the taught ones were called Messianists first in Antioch. So Antioch is in Syria. I think in most translations it says that the Greeks called them Christians. I'm not even going to read what the New World Translation says because I know that it's got some horse bucky in it. After he found them, he brought them to Antioch. So for a whole year they assembled with them in the congregation and taught quite a crowd. And it was first in Antioch that the disciples were called Christians. So it wasn't even the Greeks, it was the Syrians, who we know they've had beef forever. Like, back to Judges, and if not before that, because I don't know who Assyrians were, like, who their lineage traces back to, but okay. So they're calling themselves, followers of Messiah are calling themselves the way of Israel, of Judaism. It's the way. It's the proper way. Not calling themselves Messianists. They're not calling themselves Christians. They are the way to do the Torah properly. who persecuted this way to the death, binding and delivering up into prisons both men and women. We saw that in Acts 8. As also the high priest bears me witness, and all the eldership, from whom I also received letters to the brothers, and went to Damascus to bring in chains even those who were there to Jerusalem to be punished. Okay. So he's saying also the high priest bears witness of me. So the high priest knows me. The high priest here, the eldership, they all know that I was in Jerusalem and I got sent out to Damascus, which is going back toward Cilicia, Tarsus, where Shaul's from. And, well, it's north more. It's northeast, I guess, depending how you look at this. And so he is cheering them on, giving approval to his death in Acts 8:1. And the high priest, basically he's like, yeah, your high priests, your guys, the guys that you answer to, the guys that you hail and revere, they sent me to kill people. And they know who I am. Basically, if you ask them. They know me. They'll remember me. From whom I also received letters to the brothers. And went to Damascus to bring in chains even those who were there to Jerusalem to be punished. Received letters to the brothers. Like, he basically is like, I was so tight with them that they would give me the information to pass along. I could be a middleman with these guys. It'd be like, oh, I need this done, grab Shaul. You know what I mean? Has Shaul talked to the high priest yet? No, Elder Jerry. And he goes to Damascus. Now we're in Acts chapter 9. But Shaul, still breathing threats and murder against the taught ones of the master, having come to the high priest, asked from him letters to the congregations of Damascus, so that if he found any who were of the way, whether men or women, to bring them bound to Jerusalem. So he asks them for basically permission slips in Damascus. The high priest probably talks politics with, one of the Roman guards and such, commanders and officers, and he's like, hey, we got this place Damascus over here. I hear there's a lot of people following the way, and we got to get rid of these people. So can we, get some approval to kill them if we find them? To which the high priest says, sure, go kill them. Okay. And it came to be, as I was journeying and coming near Damascus about noon, suddenly a great light shone around me out of the heaven. And I fell to the ground and heard a voice saying to me, Shaul, Shaul, why do you persecute me? Acts 9:3, and it came to be that as he journeyed, he came near Damascus, and suddenly a light flashed around him from the heaven, and he fell to the ground and heard a voice saying to him, Shaul, Shaul, why do you persecute me? Yeah, so these letters are permission slips, not necessarily a job. They're basically, getting approval in writing. Water. And I answered, who are you, master? And he said to me, I am Yeshua of Nazareth, whom you persecute. Imagine hearing that. Just say, who are you? I was reading in James today about if anyone comes to you naked and hungry. And then Yeshua says in Matthew 25:40, we'll start. And then the sovereign shall answer and say to them, truly I say to you, insofar as you did it to one of the least of these brothers, you did it to me. He shall then also say to those on the left hand, go away from me, accursed ones, into the everlasting fire prepared for the devil and his messengers. For I was hungry, and you gave me no food. I was thirsty, and you gave me no drink. I was a stranger, and you did not take me in. Was naked, and you did not clothe me. Sick and in prison, and you did not visit me. Then they shall also answer him, saying, Master, when did we see you hungry or thirsty or a stranger or naked or sick or in prison and did not serve you? Then he shall answer them, saying, truly I say to you, insofar as you did not do it to one of the least of these, you did not do it to me. And these shall go away into everlasting punishment, but the righteous into everlasting life. Okay? So woo! It's getting a little dehydrated there. So just remember that next time there's somebody naked or sick or in prison who needs you. And admittedly, I've fucked this up too. But I do not make a practice of it anymore. There's a responsibility, even as a neighbor, that when your neighbor is there and you're making chicken, and like we get a lot caught up in, I'd said I think in Acts yesterday, how many of us would invite people who we don't know, like, into our house, into our gathering. And this is the example of it. It's very lost on society today to love just a random person, I was talking about it in Acts, the physical touch they embraced, and even to just sit down with somebody. But if you're making a whole bunch of food, invite your neighbor over. Excuse me. Okay. And whom you persecute, he's obviously killing people, but the persecution is the denial. And those who were with me indeed saw the light and were afraid, but they did not hear his voice speaking to me. So they don't hear Yeshua, but they can see the light. he doesn't include that it is hard for you to kick against the prods. Prods being also known as goads in many translations, but basically they're like those, if you've ever seen big giant logs that are sharpened that come to a point that keep the sheep in, basically, and he's basically kicking against them, trying to, like, it's like a stick, somebody poking a stick in your calf. Both trembling and being astonished, he said, Master, what do you wish me to do? And the master said to him, Arise and go into the city, and you shall be told what you have to do. And the men journeying with him stood speechless, hearing indeed the voice, but seeing no one. Okay. So, now it would say, but they did not hear his voice speaking to me. Hearing indeed the voice, but seeing no one. And Shaul arose from the ground, but when his eyes were opened, he saw no one. And leading him by the hand, they brought him into Damascus. And he was 3 days without sight, and did not eat nor drink. And there was at Damascus a certain taught one by name Hananiah, and the master said unto him in a vision, Hananiah. And he said, Here I am, master. And the master said to him, Arise and go to the street called Straight, and seek in the house of Yehuda for one called Shaul of Tarsus. For look, he is praying, and has seen in a vision a man named Hananiah coming and laying his hand on him so as to see again. And Hananiah answered, Master, I have heard from many about this man, and how many evils he did to your set-apart ones in Jerusalem. And here he has authority from the chief priests to bind all those calling on your name. But the master said to him, Go, for he is a chosen vessel of mine to bear my name before nations, sovereigns, and the children of Israel. For I shall show him how much he has to suffer for my name. And Hananiah went away and went into the house, and laying his hands on him, he said, Brother Shaul, the master Yeshua, who appeared to you on the way as you came, has sent me, so that you might see again and be filled with the set-apart spirit. And immediately there fell from his eyes, as it were scales, and he received his sight, and rising up he was immersed. And having received food, he was strengthened, and Shaul was with the taught ones at Damascus some days. And immediately he proclaimed the Messiah in the congregations that he is the Son of Elohim. And all who heard were amazed and said, Is this not he who destroyed those calling on this name in Jerusalem, and has come here for this, to take them bound to the chief priests? But Shaul kept increasing in strength and was confounding the Yehudim who dwelt in Damascus, proving that this is the Messiah. And after many days had elapsed, the Yehudim plotted to kill them, but their plot became known to Shaul, and they were watching the gates day and night to kill him. But taking him by night, the taught ones let him down through the wall, lowering him in a basket. Having arrived at Jerusalem, Shaul tried to join the taught ones, but they were all afraid of him, not believing that he was a taught one. But Barnabas took him and brought him to the emissaries, and told them how he had seen the master on the way, and that he had spoken to him, and how he was speaking boldly at Damascus in the name of Yeshua. And he was with them at Jerusalem, coming and going out, and speaking boldly in the name of the Master Yeshua, and disputed with the Hellenists, but they undertook to kill him. When the brothers learned of this, they brought him down to Caesarea, and sent him out to Tarsus. Then indeed the assemblies throughout all Yehuda and Galil and Shomeron had peace and were built up, and walking in the fear of Yahweh, and in the encouragement of the set-apart spirit, they were being increased. And it came to be, as Kepha was passing through all places, that he also came down to the set-apart ones who were dwelling at Lod. Okay, now the story changes. So, how do we have here? And the men journeying with him stood speechless, hearing indeed the voice, but seeing no one. And those who were with me indeed saw the light and were afraid, but they did not hear his voice speaking to me. So, this is they saw the light and were afraid. Okay. So, my best guess here being that they witnessed this event, but they didn't truly hear his voice. So it says in Acts 9:7, and the men journeying with him stood speechless, hearing indeed the voice, but seeing no one. Acts 22:9 says, and those who were with me indeed saw the light and were afraid, but they did not hear his voice speaking to me. So they hear a voice. They don't hear his voice. Okay? That's the difference. And we can be ministered to by any spirit. Any spirit. We can call up any spirit that we want as humans in the spirit realm. We are spiritual beings having a physical experience. So we can call any spirit that you want to call. You can call upon, but let that be the Holy Spirit. Okay? And this is the difference in these two verses. And so if somebody tells you, well, the Bible contradicts itself there, well, there you go. It doesn't actually. You just need to know and understand the word. Because you hear the voice, but you don't hear his voice. You read the word, but you don't see the truth. Praise Yahweh. And I said, what shall I do, master? And the master said to me, rise up, go into Damascus, and there you shall be told all that you have been appointed to do. And as I could not see because of the esteem of that light, being led by the hand of those who were with me, I came into Damascus. Right. So they are not blinded by the light. They just can see the light. They have this minor experience. They're standing right next to him, but because they're not giving themselves entirely to the authority of Elohim, they do not have the light. They don't have the experience that he has. That's why, like, some people, they get baptized and they're like saved immediately. You know, they're like, I've been delivered. You know, some people don't feel like they get the set apart spirit for years after. I don't know. For me, I've felt as though I've had the set apart spirit since the day that I opened the Word. I felt it knock the air out of my chest more than the time that I've been baptized since. I do look forward to getting baptized again. I had 2 opportunities that I did not take and didn't feel like it was time. Depending on who you talk to and what they believe, I'm going to tell you it is different for everybody, and this whole comparison of Acts 9 and Acts 22 proves that. Even so, I mean, read the entire book of Acts and see, these people, we laid hands on them and they got the set apart spirit. These people were filled with the set apart spirit when they came to us. These people were got the set apart spirit when they were immersed. These people got the set apart spirit when we talked to them. They have, it is a element of submission in order to receive the set apart spirit. It is not a magical big to do. Okay? It's a heart condition. And as I could not see because of the esteem of that light, being led by the hand of those who were with me, I came into Damascus. And a certain Hananiah, a dedicated man according to the Torah, being well spoken of by all the Yehudim dwelling there, came to me, and stood by and said to me, Brother Shaul, look up. And at that same hour I looked up at him. So his experience with Hananiah is just that he comes to me and says, look up. Shaul has this experience and then he fasts for 3 days, too, in Acts 9, which I can only imagine what that did to him and his conviction, because if you fast and pray like Day of Atonement, you will get smacked in the face with the set apart spirit. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, you go and you're just praying and doing, man, you just are over the moon. And so Hananiah takes away his takes away his blindness. Okay. For the instruction of Yeshua. And he said, the Elohim of our father has appointed you to know his desire, and to see the righteous one, and to hear the voice from his mouth. Yeah, that's bingo. That's it, exactly, right there. That's my point between Acts 9, 9:7, and Acts 22:9. Excuse me. Boy, right? Woo. we're definitely getting to a point of needing a fast. Day of Atonement would really be the next one. But you can fast and pray at any time. It's really good for you. And I'm hearing from a lot of people that they're fasting on dietary basis right now and having spiritual experiences, and I myself don't love that, because Yeshua specifically says in Matthew 6 that basically they fast to look good. And so otherwise, that would have just kept going. Nah, it would have shut off, but it needed to be changed. So, this right here. To hear the voice from his mouth. That is a blessing. That is a form of trust. That is a love. That is a... not everybody gets that, and that's the point of Acts 9:7 and Acts 22:9. So just keep that in mind when you're praying. And if you say, like, I can't hear the voice of Elohim, that's why. Dedicate yourself a little harder. Whatever it is, seriously stop. Listen. Open your heart. Make yourself as small as possible. Stop whatever you're doing and pray. And pray. Give your entire being in submission to Elohim and the Master Yeshua Messiah. Because you shall be his witness to all men of what you have seen and heard. To all men. Shall be his witness. That's our part. Go witness. That's our testimony. Is that we tell people that they know what the Master has done for us. Yeah, you got a problem in your life? Fast. Pray. Last time I did that, this is the result that I had. This is how it worked for me. And now, why do you delay? Rise up, be immersed, and wash away your sins, calling on the name of Yahuwah. Why do you delay? Rise up, be immersed, and wash away your sins, calling on the name of Yahuwah. Ultimate authority, Yahuwah. Yeshua knows Shaul. I'm sure Yahuwah does as well. Yahuwah knows everything, but Be immersed and wash away your sins, calling on the name of Yahweh for forgiveness. And it came to be when I returned to Jerusalem, this wash away your sins, start anew. Turn from your sins, turn from your ways, which obviously he does. He's put in a handicap, a position where he can't continue to persecute, but he also stops persecuting. Calling on the name of Yahweh. And it came to be the great and glorious name of Yahweh, the perfect, precious, highly exalted, incredibly overseeing, and just full of life, boundless love and commitment, Yahweh. And it came to be when I returned to Jerusalem, and while I was praying in the set-apart place, I came to be in a trance. And I saw him saying to me, hurry and get out of Jerusalem speedily, because they shall not accept your witness concerning me. But they undertook to kill him at Jerusalem. And where does he come into this trance here? Um, I said, Master, they know that in every congregation I was imprisoning and beating those who believe on you. And when the blood of your witness Stephanos was shed, I was also standing by, giving my approval to his death and keeping the garments of those who were killing him. And he said to me, go, because I shall send you far from here to the nations. I don't know where that is. Oh, Acts 18. At least this is as close as I can get to it. Which he might not have proclaimed. Yet. Let's read Acts 18. 5. And when Silas and Timotheus came down from Macedonia, Shaul was pressed by the Spirit, and earnestly witnessed to the Yehudim that Yeshua is the Messiah. However, when they resisted and blasphemed, he shook his garments and said to them, Your blood is upon your head. I am clean. From now on I shall go to the nations. And having left there, he came to the house of a certain man named Justus, who worshipped Elohim, whose house was next to the congregation. And Crispus, the ruler of the congregation, did believe in the master with all his household. And many of the Corinthians hearing believed and were immersed. And the master spoke to Shaul in the night by a vision. Do not be afraid, but speak and do not be silent, because I am with you, and no one shall attack you to do you evil, because I have much people in this city. And he remained 1 year and 6 months teaching the word of Yahuwah among them. So the Yehudim no, this is about Corinth. Okay, so maybe this just is the first time that we hear about this, which is totally possible. Yeah. Okay, so let's give it that. That at some point this just isn't recorded in the book of Acts, but it happens. Master, well, nice recorded right here, actually. We're going to go to the bathroom because it's only been 2 liters of water in the last 45 minutes. came to be when I returned to Jerusalem, and while I was praying in the set-apart place, I came to be in a trance. And I saw him saying to me, hurry and get out of Jerusalem speedily, because they shall not accept your witness concerning me. And I said, Master, they know that in every congregation I was imprisoning and beating those who believe on you. And when the blood of your witness, Stephanos, was shed, I also was standing by, giving my approval to his death and keeping the garments of those who were killing him. They threw their garments at the feet of a young man named Shaul. And he's apparently just the coat holder at this point. And then he's like, yeah, you know what we should do? We should go kill more of these guys in Damascus. I got a line on them. Let's go get them. So. And he said to me, go, because I shall send you far from here to the nations. Okay? And in Corinth, we read, and this is what makes me believe that it's around this time frame, is that, however, when they resisted and blasphemed, he shook his garments and said to them, your blood is upon your own head. I am clean. From now on, I shall go to the nations. So I do believe that this was the time, you know, as we were seeing in Psalms, in the Psalms reading today, we had kind of a timeline. David's writing Psalm 27 and 28 concurrently with his prayer for the for his ability to build the house of Elohim, and we here get timeline kind of going back and forth. And they were listening to him until this word. And when they lifted up their voice, saying, away with such a one from the earth, for it is not fit that he should live. Okay. So, basically, they're okay with all this stuff. They're like, hey, Yeshua's the Messiah? Maybe. We are going to listen. You've made a compelling case. You were out here killing people, and now you're a follower. Interesting turn of events. Kind of believe you. You're a Yehudi. And then he says that Messiah says, so this is really what screws them up. This is where they get lost, is that they can't believe that their Messiah wants their salvation given to the nations. They are expecting that it's a, VIP members only club, and only by the lineage of Abraham. And Shaul's like, yeah, not so much. And even Peter has this in Acts 10 and 11. And then subsequently in 12, he kind of gets pulled away from it. But this is really their problem, is that they don't want to share their salvation. It's a Jewy thing to do. Very Jewy of them. And they were listening to him until this word. And then they lifted up their voice, saying, away with such a one from the earth, for it is not fit that he should live. The fact that possibly they would have to accept the nations, that to them is grounds for killing. And so we know from all over Deuteronomy 24 that you do not forsake the sojourner. You don't treat the sojourner any differently. There is one Torah for the sojourner, for the Israelite, and the sojourner within your gates. So it's said in Exodus 12 at the time of the Pesach. But they have to be circumcised. So, in order to eat at the Pesach. Exodus 12:48, and when a sojourner sojourns with you, and shall perform the Pesach to Yahuwah, let all his males be circumcised, and then let him come near and perform it, and he shall be as a native of the land, but let no uncircumcised eat of it. There is one Torah for the native born and for the sojourner who sojourns among you. And all the children of Israel did as Yahuwah commanded Moshe and Aaron, so they did. And then we get into Numbers 15, which is And Yahuwah spoke to Moshe, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, and say to them, When you have come into the land of your dwelling, which I am giving you, and you make an offering by fire to Yahuwah, an ascending offering, or a slaughtering to accomplish a vow, or as a voluntary offering, or in your appointed times, to make a sweet fragrance to Yahuwah from the herd or the flock, then he who brings near his offering to Yahuwah shall bring near a grain offering of 1/10 of an ephah of fine flour, mixed with 1/4 of a hin of oil, and 1/4 of a hin of wine, as a drink offering you prepare with the ascending offering or the slaughtering for each lamb. Or for a ram you prepare as a grain offering 2/10 of an ephah of fine flour mixed with 1/3 of a hin of oil. And as a drink offering you bring 1/3 of a hin of wine as a sweet fragrance to Yahuwah. And when you prepare a young bull as an ascending offering or as a slaughtering to accomplish a vow, or as a peace offering to Yahuwah, then shall be brought with the young bull a grain offering of 3/10 of an ephah of fine flour mixed with half a hin of oil, and bring as a drink offering half of a hin of wine as an offering made by fire, a sweet fragrance to Yahuwah. This is what is done for each young bull, for each ram, and for each lamb or young goat, according to the number that you prepare. So you do for each one according to their number. Let all who are native do so with them in bringing near an offering made by fire, a sweet fragrance to Yahuwah. And when a sojourner sojourns with you, or whoever is among you throughout your generations, and would make an offering made by fire, a sweet fragrance to Yahuwah, as you do, so he does. One law is for you of the assembly and for the sojourner who sojourns with you, a law forever throughout your generations. As you are, so is the sojourner before Yahuwah. One Torah and one right ruling is for you and for the sojourner who sojourns with you. No matter what it is, one law, one Torah, one right ruling is for you and the sojourner who sojourns with you. Okay? Throughout your generations. Now, they don't get this to the degree where they're like, you are not even supposed to talk to an uncircumcised man at this point. And they don't realize that they're supposed to be taking care of the uncircumcised just as they are the circumcised. And they are supposed to welcome in those who desire circumcision. Okay. This is a big problem with the Pharisees and what Yeshua comes to rebuke them for. And this is the main contradiction here in Acts 22:22. As they were shouting and tearing their garments and throwing dust into the air, the commander ordered him to be brought into the barracks and said that he should be examined by flogging in order to find out why they were shouting so against him. He's like, look, they started yelling again. They're tearing their garments and they're throwing dust into the air, which I don't understand that, but apparently that's a thing. They didn't have tomatoes or Molotov cocktails back then. But he's like, yeah, we're going to bring this guy back and we're going to torture him and we're going to find out what he knows and why this is all happening. And as they were stretching him out with straps, literally, like what? Like the most gruesome depiction in the whole Bible. they're stretching him out with straps, and they got him tied up. Shaul said to the captain who was standing by, "Is it permitted for you to whip a man who is a Roman and uncondemned?" Because he's a lawyer. He's practically a lawyer at this point. And when the captain heard, he went and reported to the commander, saying, "Watch what you are about to do, for this man is a Roman." Shaul knows what to speak, and it's given to him by the Spirit. And having come, the commander said to him, "Say to me, are you a Roman?" And he said, "Yes." And the commander answered, "With a large sum I obtained this citizenship." And Shaul said, "But I was even born so." It's just like, you think you're cool? Like, I'm a Roman citizen too. He's like, "I bought this citizenship." Shaul said, "I was born this way." Then at once those who were about to examine him withdrew from him. And the commander was also afraid after he found out that he was a Roman, and because he had bound him. Apparently this is not something that you do. In Roman law, a lot of America today, the republic a democratic republic is based on Roman rule, Roman law, and so you don't just start torturing people to examine them. You can question them, you can, but even so, he got to make his speech, and they didn't know what was going on, and we see how this plays out. Most of the rest of Acts, if not all, I believe, is this next scene or couple of scenes playing out. To the degree that the guy's afraid. He's like, I shouldn't have done this. I need to vet who I'm torturing and question them and have an interrogation and a process. And, we read this in Job 29:16 about the investigation of the case. "I was a father to the poor, and I investigated the case which I did not know." And this guy's just, hammering away. He's just like, clearly he's guilty of something, and fortunately Pontius Pilate did a little bit more diligence on Yeshua, but it didn't save him. And on the next day, intending to know for certain why he was accused by the Yehudim, he released him and commanded the chief priests and all their council to come, and brought Shaul down and set him before them. "We're going to figure this out. Get all your guys. I'm going to bring this prisoner here, and let's have a trial."